All right, so we have one of the first big box office hits of 2026, and Project Hail Mary. It just dropped this weekend. Everyone's loving it. It's making so much money, and I just gotta say, like, I'm really surprised at how much people like this movie. Basically, if you haven't heard, it's a one-man space movie. Every sun in the universe is getting infected and poisoned. So Ryan Gosling, he plays this guy named Grace who travels to the last healthy sun in the universe to figure out a solution. And when he gets there, he meets this little alien guy who's also been sent on the same mission. And together, they have to figure out a way to save both of their worlds. And it's based off a book by Andy Weir. He's the same guy who wrote The Martian. And usually, like for most pop culture things, there's this general sentiment that the book is always better than the movie. And I didn't read the book, and a lot of the book readers seem to think that it's a pretty good adaptation. And it's been interesting. Since I've watched it, I've been trying to figure out why I didn't really have a fun time with this movie. And I think part of it is expectations and just the experience that I had in the theater. Like first, the review embargo for this movie, it dropped really early, which is usually a good sign. They'll drop review embargoes early when they know like, oh, we're going to get good word of mouth. So we want to put it out there that people know that this is a good movie. And everyone was calling it amazing and fantastic and brilliant and whatever. And I also went to one of the early release screenings a week prior, which is, I think, another sign that like the studio, they knew that this was going to be a hit. Like, let's put it out there early. And I was in a theater with maybe 250 to 300 people. And the audience was loving it. They were loving it. It was crazy. Like they were laughing at every line, like even lines that weren't super funny. And I guess I was just so surprised at how much people liked it. Like during the movie, there were a few times where I was kind of just like looking around and confused. Like it didn't seem like we were watching the same movie. Like everyone was having the best time of their lives. And I just thought it was like just okay. And so generally, I think my like one sentence thesis is that Project Hail Mary feels like a combination of The Martian and Interstellar, but almost every aspect of it is done worse. But before like I go into like my criticisms and my gripes with the movie, I do have to say like Ryan Gosling, fantastic, talented, charismatic. He carries this movie. I think with another like lesser lead actor, like this movie could have been so much worse. But he can kind of distract me from a lot of my frustrations with this movie, and he makes it like a lot more watchable than it probably should be, just based on the script and the direction and how it was implemented. But honestly, like that's kind of it for me. Like that was a saving grace, like no pun intended. But that was a saving grace for this movie. I think one of the strengths is that it's like funny and charming with a lot of quirky dialogue and fun bits. But when you're going to watch a Phil Lord and Christopher Miller movie, like, of course it's going to be, right? Like, that's the ground floor. That's, like, the expectation that it's going to be funny and you're going to laugh and chuckle. But, like, let's get into it. Let's break down why I don't really, like, see all the hype for this movie. Right off the bat, I think I was pretty disappointed with the emotional, like, story and heart, which is funny because everyone is saying that there's so much heart in this movie. And I think there's a difference between, like, having a lot of nice, warm feelings that you experience in the movie. Like, the relationship between Grace and the alien, it's sweet and it's heartwarming, but I don't think there's much more than that. Like, there's not a lot of depth to the relationship. They don't push each other in interesting ways. And I think this is because we don't know much about the alien. The alien, his name is Rocky, and he says funny lines, and he makes Grace get annoyed or whatever, and they, like, develop this bond. But there's no interesting ideas that Rocky brings to the table. Like, if you were to ask me what a defining characteristic of Rocky is, it's like, I can't really tell you. He's just there for Ryan Gosling to kind of play off of. He doesn't have any contrasting philosophies. He's basically just like a manic pixie dream alien, you know? And I think this could be a take, like, especially in today's world, like, there's an idea that, like, maybe you don't need to know much about someone else, but there's just this, like, shared humanity and desperation that connects you for, like, something bigger than yourself, you know? And that could be, like, a nice message, but one, I don't think that's interesting, and two, I don't think that's just, like, shown well in the relationship or in the movie. Like, that's not, like, something that they intentionally seem to touch on. But more importantly, like, I think that Grace is a poorly defined and underexplored character. He's told to be like a loner who has no one, but throughout the entire movie, he's just like this charming, funny, and cool and smart guy who looks like Ryan Gosling. Like, I don't buy that he is a loser or a loner. Like, his humor, it's not coming from like, oh, he's an awkward loner recluse person, right? Like, his humor is like laugh out loud funny. It's like the kind of humor that would like rizz up girls at the bar, you know? Like, not for 1 second am I believing that this guy is terribly alone and couldn't find any connection with anyone on Earth. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. Like, in the text, that's how it is, but like that's not how it plays in the movie. And like the movie tells us that he's lonely. Like the movie tells us that he has nothing to fight for, but it just doesn't show us that. And the movie also tells us that he's a failure and that he's a coward and that he doesn't rise to the challenge. But all throughout the movie, he's extremely competent. He's very, very good at every single thing he does, and everything that he needs to do, he's able to do. And like usually in most space movies, like I'm thinking about Gravity, Interstellar, The Martian, like these other movies, right? Like every single little thing seems super hard. Like space movies, they put into perspective like the idea of just like human grit and determination and like the mental resolve needed to do just like the smallest of tasks, like just to eat, to move, to like get up, to like kind of get your muscles moving and stuff like this. And this movie, like, it's not really trying to be about human perseverance in space, like The Martian is or anything like that. Like, it's not trying to be that. It wants to like focus on the relationship between Grace and Rocky, and I can respect that take. But the whole thing is like, if you make your protagonist's core characteristic that he's just like doesn't have that dog in him and he has to struggle through that, like you can't just show him easily fixing everything. Like you have to show him struggling through some of these things and wrestling through them and growing because of that. Like their main characteristic, his main flaw that they put into the movie, that they decided to make part of this movie, like is that he's bad at things and then he's not bad at things. And so it's like, what is the point of that? You know, what is the point of that? Like, what are you trying to tell me about humanity, about this character, if he has a flaw and the flaw doesn't even create any drama throughout the movie? So I think there's that. Like, that's the annoying part. Of course, like I said, Ryan Gosling and his charm and his character makes it like good enough that you can like watch the movie. It's watchable if you don't think about it too much, I think. But then I also have problems with like the structure and the editing, and I think that's where a lot of the issues of the movie, like it's baked into that. And I know like the movie is structured with the flashbacks just like the book is, and I totally believe, like I didn't read the book, I haven't like heard anything about the book, didn't even read like a summary. I totally believe that the book fleshes these things out much better than the movie does. So now I'm gonna criticize like the story structure and the flashbacks, but I don't think that's like the excuse of, oh, but that's how it was written in the book, like, and the book was good. Like that's not a good excuse, because these are two different mediums, and like when it was translated onto the screen, they missed a lot of the stuff, and I think it just resulted in a poor movie. So we're kind of gonna go into like some spoilers now. So if you want to like watch the movie fresh, like click off this video. But also like I've been pretty negative so far. I don't know why you'd want to watch a movie if you just heard me talk about it. But anyways, who cares? Anyways, beginning of the movie, Grace wakes up in space and he doesn't really like remember who he was or like why he's here. And over the course of the film, there's flashbacks every, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes that reveal what happened on Earth, how he got there. And I think there's a couple of issues that I have here. First, the flashbacks in the story aren't treated as things that like Grace is learning or remembering as he's like getting his memory back. It's not like something happens in space that like triggers a memory from his past, and it's not like he experiences the flashbacks and then it informs like how he acts or makes decisions in space or whatever. Like the flashbacks are simply just like they're story structured things for the audience. They're not used in the story for character. They're used to just like dump exposition to us so we understand what's going on. And I think for the first 2/3 of the movie, like that is totally fine. Not because it works well, but because it's like useful and it answers questions that the audience has. But then at the end of the movie, one of the big flashbacks is that we realize he did not volunteer or consent to going into space. Like he was sent into space against his own will. He didn't want to, but he was drugged and he was sent up there. And yeah, he has amnesia because of it. And I don't think it actually affects anything about the story. Like it doesn't make it hard for Grace to do what he's good at. He doesn't really even question why he's there. There's like a couple of shots of him like writing on a whiteboard of like, who am I? But like that's not ever really like a thing that we explore or linger on. It's not really a question that he has other than like those shots. And so he doesn't have like some crazy personal identity crisis or whatever. There's no real impact to like him having amnesia. And so when we get to the big reveal, it's also so late into the movie that it like doesn't matter. Like it's not that there's some big betrayal of the director that he really trusted. Like in the flashbacks, like he and the director don't have like this super close relationship. So it's not like, oh, I feel so bad that the director like betrayed us or whatever. And also at this point, we're like 2 hours and 10 minutes into the movie. Like I don't care about how we got into space. Like what's more interesting to me is that we're in space now and we need to figure out how to get home safely or like save the world or whatever. Like I don't care about the melodrama of how he got there, especially because it doesn't change his motivations or like his outlook on life or his outlook on the mission. And so like if the flashbacks aren't really doing anything for the character and the flashbacks are just there to hold back this like weird reveal at the end for the audience, like a reveal that's not even really like resonant or crazy or interesting or emotional, like then what is the point? So I was really frustrated by the structure of this story. Also because like this is a 2 hour and 45 minute movie. Like it is a long movie. I'm like, what is going on here? So those are like my two main things, my big criticisms. And I think it just like really makes the movie fall apart for me because it felt like there wasn't a lot of sense to the main characters and the reason why the story is unfolding the way that it is. Like I was waiting for like a bigger something. And I feel like I kind of stand by these pretty firmly. But then there's also like a couple of nitpicks, small things that I have. These are things that like I don't think matter too much. And if I like this movie, I definitely would like wave these away for not being that deep because they're not that deep, but like they're thoughts anyways. I think the first thing, I absolutely hated the way that Rocky and Grace learn to communicate because it just like makes no sense. Like there's no way that Rocky should be able to identify human numbers. Like they use a clock to be like, oh, now we have a basis of like, you know what one is and you know what my two is or whatever. But like, you shouldn't be able to recognize the shape of a two or the shape of a one. You know, like, yeah, showing him a clock and the numbers that humans write out makes no sense. And something that just like is a personal bias, like Arrival with Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I think they showed like the language deciphering process in a way that makes so much more sense and seemed more like technical and like thought through. And like obviously this movie, it doesn't matter. Like we know that they're gonna be able to communicate and like fine, but if you're gonna put that in there and show us the process and like make it make sense, you know, like think it throughout. So like yeah, while they are developing the most basic foundation of language, like Grace is asking questions, and there's zero chance that Rocky should be able to like even understand the questions that he's asking, but it just happens. So there's that a little minor nitpick. And then I also think something that's interesting is like the scope and the understanding of the stakes isn't just great. And of course, like I think you could say like, well, but the stakes is like the character. You like care about the character, and obviously we talked about why I feel like that didn't work for me. But I don't really know what we're fighting for on Earth. Like I don't see how the Earth is affected. Because he has no connections back home. Like it just like feels like there's not much to fight for. And like usually it's interesting because space movies have just like such an easy low barrier built-in stakes and emotional pull of just like it's about making it home safely or being back to normal. But here, just like not really a thing. And I also think that Ryan Gosling's funny guy shtick, where he's answering every like single question with like a snarky remark, it just like became grating after a little while. Like it was pretty funny for the first 30 minutes, but then after that, like he keeps on doing it all the time, and it got annoying. And like usually, sometimes like characters are doing that out of like some insecurity or compensating or like loneliness or like some kind of character flaw, right? And then we'll get a scene where like that's broken down over time, and then we realize like, oh, this is why they do the things that they do, and like it's out of a hurt or a pain or a lack of something. And they kind of show that a little bit, like when Grace realizes that he can go home, like he breaks down and he starts crying. Like the audience sees that he wasn't really like at peace with dying in space, and he doesn't want to go home, right? But then also like why? Like give me more, right? Like is it just because home is comfortable, or because he really had something at home to like look forward to, or like just like is home a known entity, or does he just feel like that because that's the way he's supposed to feel, or just like yeah, there's like hope or something. Like that's never really explored, right? It just feels like a nice cathartic moment because like that's what the audience would want to do. Like we would want to go home, but for the character of Grace, like what is he thinking? I don't know. We don't know. So it's like, does it matter? A couple of things that is like cool, I guess, like the design of the alien ship and the alien, like I think that's really cool. I don't know. The supporting cast was like just a big nothing burger. Like I don't know. But overall, I think a pretty messy movie. It's interesting that people are talking about it like it's great. 4-quadrant blockbuster that everyone's gonna love. It's probably gonna get some Oscar buzz. Not probably, I think it will. But yeah, it seems overhyped to me. But I do understand why people like it, and I'm trying not to hate on it. Like there are some movies that just get me really frustrated, and I'll just like want to rant about it and then like tear it down. But Project Hail Mary, I'm kind of like just indifferent. Like it was fine, it wasn't great. Like I'm not too pressed about it. But yeah, like I know it's gonna make a lot of money. And so for like the studios, the industry, for general audiences, like Project Hail Mary was successful. But for me, Project Hail Mary, it was just like a pathetic, incomplete pass. So those are the thoughts. I'll see you guys next time.